We're less than a month from the draft, Roob.
It's crazy. March kind of just flew by, didn't it?
It really did. It's amazing. You look up, we're recording this on March 24th. Pretty soon, April, and the draft, and then OTAs, and then, like, before you know it, we're going to be in training camp.
We will, and it'll be opening day, and here we go.
Pretty exciting. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast, brought to you by Nissan. Reuben, Frank, and Dave Zangaro. A bunch to talk about today. All the safety news happened with that position since our last podcast. We're going to break all of that down. And since we've gotten through the first couple of waves of free agency, we're going to take a breather, step back, and look at this Eagles team position by position. And then a little bit later, we have some questions to get to. But first, Roob, are you feeling all better now? Like, are you over this cold completely?
Yeah, it was more than a cold. It was, and I don't get sick. I don't think I'd ever taken a sick day here since I started, other than when I had COVID back in the day. But yeah, it was rough. I don't know
what should I call it.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what it was. It felt like COVID. I had, that sore throat and cough. That cough just wouldn't go away. I just sat on the couch and watched the World Baseball Classic like every day. like oh, there's a game in in Bolivia. I'll watch it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to complain. It wasn't too bad, but I hated missing work a couple days. So, but all good now.
Good. Glad
thanks for your concern.
You're on the mend. How was your weekend? Everything good?
All good. Yeah.
Okay. My weekend has been me fighting against my allergies. Allergy eye drops might be my favorite thing ever made. Ever.
Really? Ever?
I wanted to claw my eyes out of my head the other day.
I'm glad you didn't.
Thank you. It's been so annoying. If they're they're actually looking pretty good right now. They were really...
That look you just gave, that's going to end up on the preview.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. They were really bloodshot yesterday. I kept putting the eye drops in, and I changed up the allergy medicine. I changed from one to the other because I don't know the science behind it. Someone's probably going to tell me this in an email, but I feel like I got to trick my body. And once my body gets used to one of the allergy medicines, I flip it to the other one. That seems to work.
Whatever gets you through. When I was sick, and I was talking to my doctor on the phone, and he's like, it's just, you just got to let it run its course. I'm like, I need drugs. I don't want to let it run its course. Give me drugs. But it was, yeah. But yeah. I think we're both up and running. We're both feeling pretty good today. So
yeah, everything's good. So on Friday, I was actually on Bird's Huddle, and the news came down right before the TV show. The first news came down that the Eagles were trading Sidney Brown. And then what was it, a half hour later, we got the news that they were signing Marcus Epps and JT Gray. So the safety position as we knew it when we were planning for that television show was completely different by the time that show actually started. So let's go in chronological order with what they did. First, the Sidney Brown trade. They trade him to Atlanta. Basically a double late round pick swap. The Eagles and the Falcons swapped their 4th and 6th round picks. So the Eagles got 114 and 197. The Falcons got Sidney Brown, 122 and 215.
Yeah, and good for Sidney. I hope, he probably needed a fresh start somewhere. I hope it works out for him. 3rd round pick, just never panned out as a safety here. And I think he had so much athletic ability. He was physical. He could run. He just wasn't able to, A, be disciplined, and be disciplined was the main thing. He just kind of overran everything. He was 100 miles an hour all the time. And he knew it, and he talked about it last training camp. He's got to slow down and get in position instead of going 100 miles an hour all the time. But he couldn't do it. I'm not sure he's capable of it. So he's got some traits that should make him a pretty good player, but he put it together on special teams. He was a really good special teamer, but just never panned out as a safety. And I don't know if he ever will.
And look, he was someone that the front office and the scouting staff loved. I mean, he was a Red Star player. I think he might have been the reason we learned what a Red Star player was for the Eagles. Basically, every scout gets to put a Red Star on a player, and it's kind of, they exemplify what it means in their eyes to be an Eagle. And I think he still had a lot of those ththings, right? I think he was a high character guy. I think he is a hard worker. He, like you mentioned, he possesses the athleticism. The problem is that he never put it together. And Vic wasn't the DC when he was drafted. And I think we saw that he was never Vic's favorite option.
Yeah, and you can understand why. I mean, he just wasn't very good, and I could see why if you're scouting him, you would like what you saw. You think, well, he's physical, he's fast, he's tough. Like you say, he's a really high character guy. But putting it all together in the NFL is not easy, and he couldn't do that. I like Sidney, and I had great talks with him. His brother plays for the Bengals, his running back. We talked about his family. He had a really interesting background. Overcame a lot as a youngster, he and his brother, and that story's been told. But he's a guy that you root for. I hope he figures it out and gets to play for Atlanta.
Yeah, and we should mention, like, he was a very good special teamer. We don't want to gloss over that. He played 757 special team snaps in 3 years, so a core special teamer. Obviously, that's not why they drafted him with the, 65th overall pick? 66. They had picks 65 and 66 that year. And they drafted, it was Tyler Steen at 65 and Sidney Brown at 66. He was a player they really liked. So,
and as Howie mentioned, he's the only first guy drafted in the first 3 rounds in the last 5 years who didn't become a consistent starter.
Yeah, which is, I mean, shockingly good.
Heck of a record.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the run that Howie's been on in recent years is pretty unbelievable.
And he will happily tell you about it.
He will. And even the miss was a functional player. You know, he was someone that contributed on special teams. And that first year played a little bit of like big nickel in a different defense, but then was not a fit for what Vic Fangio wanted him to do.
Yeah. And, you kept hoping he would be able to put it together. And because, I mean, he does have traits. He does have some pretty, appealing traits. And you can see why they liked him coming out. But he never could get it figured out once he was on the field.
Yeah. And we'll always have that moment when he tried to fight the entire Dallas Cowboys team in the tunnel.
He did.
Pretty good.
He's a feisty guy, and I always appreciate that about him.
Yeah, so Sidney Brown gone, and then maybe a half hour after that, we learned the Eagles were re-signing Marcus Epps and JT Gray. Let's start with Epsy. We've known him for a long time. Epsy was the Jim Schwartz nickname for him, the hockey nickname for Marcus Epps, who, I mean, that tells you how long he's been around, that Jim Schwartz was talking about this guy, but not a surprise that he's back. We had talked about this even before free agency started, that, they might let Reed Blankenship walk and look at Marcus Epps as a value add comparative to what they'd have to pay Reed.
Yeah, and they like him, and this is what I guess it would technically be his third stint here, kind of his second stint here. I don't know how you would. Probably his second stint here.
I'd go second.
This is all one stint.
He didn't leave.
No, he didn't go anywhere else. It was funny because I put Sixers pregame on. That's how I found out, and it was the end of huddle, and I found out from you guys about the moves. I thought he played well, and again, after Makuba went on IR, Epps was on IR himself for one more week, and that's the week that would be Sidney Brown's last start as an Eagle. Did not go well, and Vic couldn't wait to get Epps back. Usually they kind of ramp a guy up who's been on IR. They just put him in. Just opened his window, activated him, and played him. And I thought he played well at the end of the year. Really smart guy. He's always in the right place. Not a plus athlete, but good enough. And he's played a lot of football. He started a bunch of games. I guess he started out with the Vikings.
It was a 6th-round pick.
And did they waive him and Eagles claimed him?
Yes.
Or they signed him off their practice squad or something
like
that?
Yeah, it was I think it was the Andrew Sendejo shuffle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sendejo went back to Minnesota and the Eagles got Epps.
Sendejo, that was a crazy dude.
Yeah.
Man, he would hit you. You could be walking through the cafeteria, he would hit you. But yeah, I mean, as of now, I mean, the position is thin, but at least you have a couple functional guys, and I think JT Gray's, I mean, he's been a great special teamer in his career. I'm not sure how much safety they have him earmarked for.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the Sidney Brown special teams replacement.
Probably, yeah. But Sidney was at least, like, you could put him out at safety. I mean, Gray's barely played any defense in his career, like, 150 snaps or something, 170, 180. Very small number.
153.
Well, I surrounded it. I was in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
And for a guy that's played a lot of years in the league, it's rare to be a position player and really just be exclusively a special teamer. But
yeah, but that tells you how good he is at special teams.
2-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro 1 year. So
he was an All-Pro 1 year, second team All-Pro twice.
Yeah, so Michael Clay will be happy to have him.
It's been a while since they just had like a pure special teamer. They used to always have roster spots for a Chris Maragos, a Brian Brayman, like guys who
Ken Rose.
Okay, go back.
I'm going back to Ken
okay.
Rose.
They used to have some spots for those guys, and they haven't really done that much in recent years. Maybe Patrick Johnson was like that. I don't think Sidney Brown fit that because I think that the front office at least wanted him to get a chance to play on defense. But yeah, you're right. JT Gray, I think, is coming here just to be a special teamer.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about Epps and Makuba as your starters? I mean, it's not an elite.
Yeah, I mean,
combo.
I wouldn't hand it to Epps just yet. I really do think Michael Carter is in the mix.
Could be.
And he's someone we've talked about during this process. And Michael Carter, they traded for him during the season. He's a nickel corner by trade. And in fact, at one point, he was the highest paid nickel in the NFL. The Eagles reworked his contract this year to keep him. And last year, it kind of went under the radar a little bit, but he was cross-training at nickel and safety, which are somewhat interchangeable in this defense. So I think Epps probably has the lead in that race, but I wouldn't rule Carter out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it could even be, I mean, it could be Epps and Carter. I mean,
I'd be surprised by that.
I would too, but I think it's on the table.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know what Makuba is, what kind of player he's going to be. I thought he did some good things later in the year, but also did some bad things early in the year. A couple picks, so that was good around the ball. I remember talking to Michael Carter during the season about safety. He said he's comfortable doing anything. He was happy to get some work at safety, so he's confident there. But I think most likely Epps and Makuba will start, but
yeah, I would say more likely that that's the case. But we also got to see if they make any more moves. What do you think about that? Because I think some fans are looking at this going, this is too thin for my liking. They've got to add someone, whether it's a trade or free agency is really thin, obviously, a trade or the draft. Is there a chance they draft one with one of those, let's say one of those 4 top 100 picks?
I don't think it's super likely, but I think it's possible. But
one of the players we know they brought in for a 30 visit is Jalen Kilgore, so they're at least showing some interest in that position. Yeah.
It's possible. And, it could be a corner safety hybrid guy that they draft. So, yeah, anything's possible with Howie. I definitely think they'll add someone. I don't think he can go into a season with what they have.
They also have, and I don't think he's going to be like an option to start, but they have Andre Sam, who has been here for a few years now. They must like him, or he wouldn't still be kicking around the practice squad.
Yeah, it's a good name, and he practices well, and I think he's a smart guy. That's why I think he finally got a chance to play this year, got into a game or two. Could be in the mix as well, but I do think there'll be more once we get going.
This feels to me like a position where they're going to get them to camp, see what they have, and if not, then Howie makes the trade.
Could be, or could draft a guy and
sure.
and add there. But I do think they'll be adding somehow, somewhere along the line at that position.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, say they don't take one in the first few rounds, and they take a day 3 guy, whatever. You don't know what you're going to get there. They get the training camp. There's a competition between Epps and Michael Carter. On top of it, maybe Makubo, you just don't know what you have. The competition's not going well. Sort of like what they did last year when they traded for Ja'Cory Bennett. And obviously that trade didn't work out, but the idea behind it is like, get in the camp, see what you have. If you don't like what you have, then try to add more.
Yeah, Howie likes to do that. So I think that's definitely a possibility.
What do you make now of the Reed Blankenship contract? Because it wasn't super prohibitive. It was 3 years, a little over $8 million per season. Any hindsight there? Would you have done that deal? Are you okay with them cutting ties with Reed to move on for these cheaper options in the interim?
I would have tried to sign him. If that's the number, if he would have come back at that number, I would have done it. Now, Howie doesn't like those kind of middle ground contracts for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Everyone's either making $20 million or $1.5 million. So it's kind of a middle contract.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that he doesn't like them. I think it's that he feels like it's not where they are.
Yeah. Well, however you want to, word it. But I would have been happy to have Reed Blankenship back. I think he's better than these guys that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. He's a really solid guy. He's a good locker room guy. He's a captain. Didn't make a lot of plays on the ball this year, but he has in the past. Physical. He stayed healthy. I would rather have him than what they have.
Yeah. And I think they would too, to be honest with you. I think all things equal, they'd rather have Reed Blankenship over Marcus Epps or Michael Carter. But I think the way they viewed it was, okay, Reed Blankenship at $8 million a year versus Marcus Epps at we don't know the contract numbers yet.
$2 million.
Maybe if that, so we're talking about like significantly reduced value. I think that's the way they're viewing this.
Probably, but I think it might be worth the extra, whatever it is, $6 million a year to have Reed Blankenship here and really feel much better about the position.
Yeah, I think you can argue that. And I think that, look, if this thing doesn't go well and we're in week 2 and Marcus Epps is playing poorly and Reed Blankenship's in Houston probably playing pretty well because that secondary is stacked, I think we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
And we can look at it with a little regret. But at least I understand, I think, the way they viewed this.
Yeah, I think you're right. And
look, it's not like this is what we talked about leading up to free agency. Like even in Stay or Go, I think we had these conversations. Like, will they want to pay Reed Blankenship or will they rather go a cheaper route?
Yeah, it's just not that much money. It's really not. And I mean, it is to me. It is to you, but in the big picture, that's not a huge contract.
Yeah, it's not huge, but it's
it's more than these guys are making.
It's a lot more than these guys, and it's a multi-year thing, which that might have been another sticking point for Howie. I think he likes the flexibility these one-year deals supplementing the major contracts give him, and the Reed deal would kind of be a little bit of an outlier in terms of what else they've done.
Yeah. But he's a different kind of player. And I mean, he's been underpaid his whole career, undrafted guy. Wasn't he a $5,000 bonus guy when he got here?
$5,000 bonus, $55,000 guaranteed.
Yeah. So he's been underpaid his whole career.
Which I think was 12th of 13 that undrafted class, and the only guy below him had no guaranteed money.
Who was that? Come on.
It was the defensive end. It's going to make me look this up.
Dave's going to be up all night.
I'm trying to remember his name.
See if I can find it.
I'm going to find it before you. Ali Fayed from Western Michigan.
Oh, yeah. I liked him.
I think he was, he might have been like the MAC Defensive Player of the Year. Is that right?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Yeah, he was. He was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year in 2021. Why do I remember this stuff? It's a little scary.
Was released in the middle of camp that year. Didn't even make it to the end of camp.
No.
Released August 14th. 6'2", 255 from Dearborn.
Yeah, but he was the only guy to make less guaranteed money than Reed Blankenship that year. So this is something I've talked about with Mike Mulhern a little bit. The last two times they've really hit on undrafted players, TJ Edwards and Reed Blankenship, they didn't sign them. Well, I guess Reed technically got a second contract. It
wasn't really
they avoided the restricted.
Yeah.
They might have done that with TJ too. But the first time those guys hit unrestricted free agency, they let them walk. Do you think that's coincidence, or do you think there's something to that? Like do the Eagles think that they've maximized this undrafted player already?
That's a good theory. It could be. A lot of times these guys get off to a hot start and then
they get off to a hot start and then maybe they kind of dip a little bit after that.
Yeah, that point of diminishing returns, excuse me. I guess you can make a case for that. It didn't really happen with TJ Edwards. I mean, he played well after he left here.
Yeah. It's just a lot of similarities between those two guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on safety before we move on?
No.
Okay. So maybe we'll skip safety when we go through position by position because we just spent so much time on it. But let's go through the offense and we'll take a break and go through the defense. We're just going to go through and see what they have and see if they need to add any more. So quarterback, obviously Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee already on the roster. Sam Howell leaves in free agency, and then they trade for Andy Dalton. That one became official actually today on Tuesday. Dalton passed his physical.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with Tanner, but I like the flexibility that. I mean, you got Dalton for just about nothing. I like the flexibility of having. I like having a veteran quarterback.
You got him for nothing, but you're paying him a little bit.
A little bit.
Almost $4 million this year.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the room. I like what they have.
It's strong. That's a strong 3-man room right now, and. Yeah, obviously the big question is Tanner McKee. You're on record as you would trade him for a 4.
I would.
I don't think I would. I think it would have to be a 3 for me. But
I listened to Joe Banner make the case that with Howie, a 3 and a 4 are identical. Just that he has as much of a chance of hitting on a 4 as a 3. I kind of buy that.
That doesn't make any sense.
His point is, with the way Howie drafts, he has as much chance of getting a good player in the 4th round as the 3rd round. So,
why?
Just because, I don't know why. Just because there's not a big difference between what you're getting in those rounds.
Okay.
He convinced me, but in any case, I would take a 4 for a guy that's played one good game in his career.
Okay. Yeah, and I get that. I just think if they look at him as clearly a better option this season than Andy Dalton, I wouldn't be in a hurry to give him up unless you get wowed. And there have been reports that they wanted to. Yeah, I mean, this is how we do this all the time. It's like they're not going to get that. Like, yeah, we know, but that you got to start somewhere. You ask for a 2, they want to give you a 4, maybe a meet on 3. And in this case, they is some team. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's how you negotiate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I feel like I have as much faith in Andy Dalton as Tanner McKee. If one or the other had to start,
okay.
Maybe a little more in Tanner, but I don't. I mean, I think Dalton's played well with Carolina when he had to play recently. Not great, but then again, Tanner wasn't great in the Washington game, so.
That Washington game, to me, like, not that I throw it out, but, like, he's playing with backups. Like, their starting offensive line wasn't good this year, and he's with the backup offensive line. Yeah,
and he played well when Devontae was in there. He made some good throws early.
I wonder if they regret playing him in that game, if that tanked his value or tanked what people think of him in a game where he wasn't exactly set up to succeed.
It Bigsby'd his value. Is that what you're saying? I mean, I think I still would have a little more faith in him than Andy Dalton, but I think it's close.
What are the chances they're both on the roster come week 1?
I think it's possible.
Okay.
I think it's very possible.
Would they trade Andy Dalton? The market never materializes for Tanner McKee. They can get
a 4.
I don't think they're getting a 4 for a guy that they just traded a 7th for, but maybe they get a 5th or a 6th.
I don't know, because where was that team when he was being shopped?
Guys got hurt
for a 7. Maybe if he has a great training camp, great preseason games.
I mean, the Eagles have been opportunistic before when quarterbacks get hurt.
I don't think anyone's going to be offering you a 5 for Andy Dalton. If they do, you take it in a second.
Okay. Running back on the roster: Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby, Will Shipley, Carson Steele, and Damian Pierce. Left in free agency, A.J. Dillon, still a free agent, Ben Van Sumeren.
Yeah, and Pierce to me is the real wild card here. I don't know what to expect from him. Hasn't been good in a while, and usually with running backs, once you start that decline, you don't end it, you don't bounce back. But he was pretty good a few years ago. If he's healthy, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in camp.
I just can't imagine a big role for him.
I can't either. I mean, he'll be 4 if he's here, and A.J. Dillon was the 4 last year and didn't play after week 5.
Yeah, and it's like he feels redundant to me with Tank Bigsby already on the roster.
Yeah.
I think it was like, yeah, we bring him in for basically nothing, see what he has. He can be an insurance policy, but I don't see it. Like, I just don't see the role for him.
I don't either, but I am looking forward to seeing him practice because he's a big, tough, physical guy.
A.J. Dillon went to Carolina, so I saw some people having fun with the idea that an A.J. left, Anna Brown left last week, but not A.J. Brown. It's pretty good. It's clever.
Fun. I was trying to get Dave to write a headline for his Sidney Brown story that said Eagles trade Brown to Falcons or something.
Yeah. Didn't do that.
Yeah,
that'd be mean.
It would have been fun.
Would have been mean. I'm not here to deceive.
When we first practiced to deceive.
It's a good running back room.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you have Saquon. It's a good running back room. But I think Bigsby.
Tank, too. Tank can play.
Yeah, he proved that last year. I mean, he proved it the year before. He had a good year with Jacksonville in 24. I like some Tank Bigsby. I thought there were times he should have played a little more last year when they're having trouble getting the running game going.
Yeah, there were moments where he'd have like an 8-yard run and he gets yanked immediately, and Saquon goes back in and gets a 3. And it's not that we're not saying he's better than Saquon Barkley, but sometimes you just stick with the hot hand a little bit.
Got to go hot hand. Yeah, I agree. I like Bigsby. I think he was a good pickup.
Will they have a fullback on this team? Could it be Carson Steele? Could it be Cam Latu? Could they bring back Ben Van Sumeren?
I think they might have a fullback.
I think they should have a fullback.
Yeah.
And if it's Cam Latu, I think I'm fine with that. I think there's something there to develop based on what we saw from him in that lead blocker role last year.
Yeah, he did pretty well in that. I don't really know enough about Carson Steele to comment intelligently.
He's a bigger back. Like they toyed with him at fullback a little bit in Kansas City, but he hasn't really like done that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. Ben Van Sumeren, just such a tough break last year.
I kind of feel like they owe it to him just to, if he's healthy, to sign him on a minimum deal and let him come to camp and try to earn his way on the team.
Yeah. Uphill battle.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. He was a player they kept on the roster last year for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't you kind of feel like, not that anyone knows anything to anyone, but don't you feel that way? If the guy is healthy, and I don't know if he is, I don't know how far along he is. You would think that he's pretty far along based on when that injury happened. He's a great special teamer. Switched positions for you last year to the point where, like, I don't know if another team views him as a linebacker or a lead blocker. I'd actually want to see him back and see what he can do.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I thought he had a chance to be a pretty good linebacker. I wonder if that might be his role if he gets another opportunity in the league.
I don't know. All right, moving on to we'll go receiver on the roster. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Darius Cooper, Johnny Wilson, Britton Covey, Danny Gray, Quez Watkins. They added Hollywood Brown. Jahan Dotson left.
Yeah. What do you expect from Hollywood Brown? What kind of player are we going to see?
It's a good question. I really think it depends on his role, and not. I don't want to keep doing this, but like it's the AJ Brown thing. Like if he's here, Hollywood Brown's a fine 3. If AJ's not here, I don't love him as a 2.
Yeah, I don't think he can be your 2. So yeah, if they trade AJ, I think maybe you draft a receiver pretty high,
Which is a gamble.
Yeah,
We've certainly seen them not nail those picks.
Yeah,
Other than the time they had the 10th overall pick and drafted the Heisman Trophy winner.
yeah. No, you're right. They've missed on some, from Kenny Jackson to Fred X, Jalen Reagor. There's been a few.
Yeah, so that's like it's almost like pointless to talk about receiver because
we just don't know.
It's so like if that top guy isn't there, it changes everything. If he's there, you obviously feel good about the talent in the room.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what Darius Cooper can do. He has a lot going for him. They like him. He got a little taste of it this year, caught a few passes. I think he's a real quality guy, and I love just how far he came last year coming out of Tarleton State and being able to make a roster and play in the league as an undrafted free agent from that kind of program, small program. So I think he's got some upside, but with a guy like that, you just don't know if it's going to work out or not.
I'm very bullish on Darius Cooper. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I think he has the potential to be a 3 in the NFL, maybe more than that, but I think definitely a 3. Now, is that this year? I don't know, but enough good sign. What do you think about Johnny Wilson?
I think he has he's such a good blocker that you kind of want him around. I mean, he really contributed in that area. Like to see him catch the ball a little better. If he's worth a roster spot, you want him to at least be able to catch the football.
Yeah, had that gruesome injury in training camp last year. Before that, I think he was a lock to make the roster.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he is anymore.
I don't think he is anymore.
Yeah,
coming back from that injury, but someone I'm at least still intrigued by. I have a lot of fans ask me if he could play tight end, and I understand that because he's huge. He has the frame to play tight end, but he hasn't done it, and like it is different. It's not as easy as putting your biggest receiver at tight end and letting it it's a different position.
And the blocking he does is not. I mean, he's not blocking on the line of scrimmage. He's blocking
perimeter blocking, downfield blocking.
It's a whole different animal.
Yeah,
but I do think he's got a unique skill set.
Totally agree. Offensive line. The starters: Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, Lane Johnson. The backups: Drew Kendall, Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams, Willie Lampkin, Holland Pierce, Jake Majors, John Ojukwu. Left in free agency: Brett Toth and Matt Pryor. Still a free agent: Fred Johnson.
It's almost like wide receiver, where it's hard to evaluate what they have without really knowing if Cam and Landon are going to be the Cam and Landon that we saw 2 years ago.
Yeah, but we know that at least they're going to be on the team.
They're going to be on the team, yes.
So at least that is a situation where they're on the team. You don't know if you can rely on them, which to me makes it imperative that you find backups that you trust this year. And right now, I don't know if they have that.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and that's why I think could be their biggest need right now. I mean, Drew Kendall, they seem to like him. He better be really good because right now, I mean, he might be starting for all we know. So, yeah, I think they need to do a little more there.
I would still bring Fred back, Fred Johnson, to be a swing tackle if he'd be up for it. I think he's a good swing tackle, and I don't think you're going to find better on the street right now. Yeah,
and I wonder, it's a little surprising to me that he's still out there, that they haven't made a move there. Either, I mean, he seemed to really be happy when he came back last summer. I just wonder if they're really high on one, on a Cameron Williams or one of those guys. They have some big dudes, some big, like, raw tackle prospects. You just wish Jeff Stoutland was here to coach him up.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that would be, and look, I think there's some talent there. I think that's dangerous. If you're just trusting that one of those 6th-round picks from last year is going to be your swing tackle in year 2, I don't know what you're basing that on. So, but offensive line to me makes the most sense in the draft. And then if they get through the draft and they're not feeling great about the depth this year, then you go out and sign someone. Sort of like what they did, remember, with Mekhi Becton in 24. And they didn't sign him to be a guard. They signed him to be a swing tackle, but they waited until after the draft to do it when they didn't get one high enough.
Yeah. People want to bring Becton back. What do you think of that?
If the price was right, I think that not having Stoutland hurts that a little bit. Wouldn't be opposed to it, but I think that will be, again, an after the draft type thing.
Yeah.
How would you feel about Becton? He played well here. I kind of think, and this is a little anecdotal, I kind of think we overrate Mekhi Becton's play in 24 and underrate Tyler Steen's play in 25.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I was looking for a way to say that. Tyler Steen was solid last year. He was fine. I think Becton probably made more like splash blocks.
Yeah, just because he's massive.
Yeah.
When he won, he won.
Yeah. But
I think he was better.
Better than Steen?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty close. I think Steen might be a little more consistent. Steen didn't have many just blow-up plays. He had some. But again, I mean, if you're going to bring Becton back as a backup, he played guard with the Chargers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he's. I mean, do you want him as a backup swing guy? Can he go back out and play some tackle? He's drafted as a.
Yeah, I mean, he's massive. He's literally the biggest guard in NFL history because he's tackle sized.
Yeah.
If you're asking me who I'd rather have as a swing tackle, him or Fred Johnson, I'd have Fred Johnson.
Yeah.
I've seen him do that. Percent chance they leave those first 4 picks, top 100 picks, without an offensive lineman.
5%.
Yeah, really low, right?
Really
I'd
low.
be shocked.
I'd be stunned. Yeah. Yeah, so I think there's some work to do on the O-line. Yeah. But it all starts with the health of those guys. And then, Lane's health too.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to hit some defensive positions and then answer some questions.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
We are back on the Eagle Eye Podcast, brought to you by Nissan. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. We went through the offense already. Let's go through the defense. We'll skip safety because we already talked about that.
Let's do it again
at length. We'll start with the edge rusher position. Already on the roster, Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, Jose Ramirez. Signed in free agency, Arnold Ebiketie. Left in free agency, Jalen Phillips, Joshua Uche, Aziz Ojolari. Still free agents, Brandon Graham, Obo Okoronkwo.
Yeah, and I think everyone kind of assumes BG will be back, but I just don't see him playing more than a handful of snaps a game at this point. I think he only played, about a dozen last year. I think he averaged about a dozen a game. Was productive.
A lot of those came inside.
Yeah, a lot of them came inside. I think he'll help, and I think he can still play. But as far as edge goes, I still think they're like a move away.
Yeah, I feel that too. And it's because they tried to re-sign Jalen Phillips and he left. Like, it doesn't change the fact that, sure, he got paid a lot of money. The Eagles were probably wise to not match a $30 million per year offer for him, but it doesn't change the fact that they wanted him here and now he's not, and they don't really have anyone that's replacing him unless you're really high on Ebiketie, which, could he work out? Sure, but I don't know if you can just count on that being a 1-for-1.
No, although he probably has averaged, he's probably averaged close to as many sacks as Jalen Phillips over the last 3 years.
Okay.
Like 5.5 to 4.
Sure.
But Yeah, he kind of feels to me like a Uche Ojulari type addition. Maybe he'll give you more. They need more. And to me, Nolan Smith is the key to all of this, because is he going to be the player we saw last year and he had injuries and he missed time, or is he going to be the player we saw down the stretch in 24 when he was just dominating? He was just going out there and crushing people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to expect from him.
This is another position where an early draft pick makes sense. It might not be the first round, but one of those top 4 picks, using it on an edge rusher, to me makes a lot of sense. And it seems like they've had some interest in potential day 2 picks at that spot.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. You can get a pretty good pass rusher outside the first round. Clyde Simmons was a 9th rounder. Josh Sweat was a 4th rounder.
I love that your references go, what year was Clyde drafted?
86.
Yeah.
That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
They don't even have the 9th round anymore.
They do not.
But yeah, I think that's the way to do it, is 2nd, 3rd round edge.
All right, defensive tackle. On the roster, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojimo, Byron Young, Ty Robinson, Gabe Hall, Taquan Graham. They obviously extended Jordan Davis. I still think at some point this offseason they will extend Jalen Carter. That's a solid group.
It is. I thought Taquan Graham was more of an outside type rusher.
I mean, he's 300 pounds.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters for our purposes. I think it's a really good group, and once you get Jalen Carter locked up, that'll kind of eliminate that question. I mean, when Byron Young's your 4th guy, and I think he gave him some good snaps last year, mm-hmm. You feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And Ty Robinson kind of the odd man out, because how's he going to get playing time?
Yeah, and he didn't last year. I mean, he was the 5th guy in that rotation. They still like Gabe Hall. And, it's funny, I had the Eagles drafting one, I think, in the 4th or 5th round of my most recent mock draft. People were like, why would they do that? It's because they're always looking to add defensive tackles, and I think they already know they're going to lose Morrow next year. It's a spot where they will never not draft a defensive tackle. Now, they might not do it in the 1st round, but
they might.
A day 3 pick on a defensive tackle, they're not going to not do that because they have a stable already.
Yeah, that would not augur well for Ty Robinson, who was a 4th round pick. Mm-hmm. So you kind of like to see him get an opportunity.
Yeah. I thought it was a disappointing rookie season for him. A guy who was an older rookie, 24 years old, I thought he was pretty NFL ready. And look, it might just be because he got buried behind veterans who were good. I
think Byron Young's development kind of pushed him out of. I mean, those are the snaps that were kind of earmarked for Ty Robinson.
And honestly, I think Gabe Hall was ahead of him, but they weren't going to cut a 4th round pick.
Right.
So really, I mean, I think he was really 6th in the pecking order, but ended up being 5th because of his draft status.
Could be.
Next position.
Good group, though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of their least needy positions. Probably their least needy.
Probably.
At linebacker, on the roster, Zach Bond, Jahad Campbell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Smile Mondon Jr., Chance Campbell, Jose Ramirez, left in free agency, Nakobe Dean. You're feeling pretty good about this position.
Yeah. You're a little more bullish on Jahad Campbell than me, but I like him. I think he's got a shot to be a pretty good player.
Nothing changed for me last year. Did anything change for you on him?
No, I'm not sure I ever was completely sold that he was going to be a star.
Okay. I'm not saying he's going to be a star, but I think the floor is pretty high.
I do too.
He's super athletic. The value of where they picked him was really high. Now, the shoulder stuff is concerning because he dropped because of a shoulder injury. We know he's missing a lot of this offseason because of a shoulder injury. Thank you, Vic Fangio. So, that part is concerning, but the player, I think the player's the player.
Yeah, well, like I said, you're just a little higher on him than me. It hurts to see Nakobe leave. We all knew it was going to happen. Nakobe's more of a playmaker, or at least he's shown to be more of a playmaker than Jahad Campbell. So Campbell's got a shot. He's got a lot going for him.
I just don't understand the disconnect between us. Were you not did you not really like the player when they drafted him?
I like the player. I just don't love the player.
Okay.
And he's got to show me Like, I think there were long stretches last year where we just didn't see big production from him.
Okay.
I don't think playing on the edge for some snaps when they were desperate helped him. I don't think it did him any favors because he needed the reps at inside linebacker. We'll see him. He's missing some important time this spring. But yeah, I mean, I like the player. I need to see it.
Okay.
I don't dislike the player at all.
Okay.
I also think I love the way he handled, losing snaps, losing starting job to Nakobe. I think he's a real team guy and
very confident guy.
Super confident.
Did not lose confidence based on that, at least from what I witnessed.
Yeah.
And you feel pretty good about the backups, honestly, too. Trot has proven to me that he can play in this league. Smile Mondin had a really nice rookie training camp. I take that for what you will, but I thought he looked the part when he got an opportunity last summer. And Chance Campbell was like, everyone loved him on the scout team last year. I don't know if he'll be on the roster, but he's someone at least to keep an eye on this summer.
And then we didn't even mention the first team All-Pro from 2 years ago. Zach Bond was as good last year as he was the year before.
We don't need to mention him. He's solid.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. Now, I will say, having Nakobe as the mic, I did allow Bond to play with a freedom that helped him. And I think you're going to miss that element too.
Could be.
Cornerback on the roster.
I do like Trotter. I think Trotter, if he has to play, I would be really confident in him.
Yes.
To get you through a couple games.
Yeah. The ceiling obviously not as high.
Just because of his physical stature. Yeah.
Cornerback, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, already on the roster. Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Mac McWilliams, Keely Ringo, Jacorian Bennett, Michael Carter, I kept him here, Brandon Johnson, Tariq Castro Fields, Ambry Thomas, renegotiated with Carter to keep him here. They signed Reek Woolen, and still a free agent, Dory Jackson.
You got to love this room.
Yeah. I mean, when you start off with Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
And then you add a guy like Reek Woolen, who's, look, he's kind of a mercurial guy, I guess is the word, but
mercurial.
So much ability, and I think he's going to help more. I think he's going to help. I mean, it's certainly an upgrade from Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo.
I don't know if mercurial is the right word. I like where you're going there. But I see what you're saying. There's some questions about Reek Woolen, but that's why he was available on a one-year deal.
Yeah.
As opposed to, his talent and the start of his career. If I were to tell you the Eagles signed Reek Woolen this offseason, you'd be like, okay, how many years, how many, millions, where does he rank among the leagues? Like, you would think he was a major contract, and it wasn't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, for a reason.
It wasn't, but as one-year contracts go, I mean, it's the one bigger one that they did.
Yeah, it's the outlier among the group.
Yeah. I think the issues, I don't want to say off the field because he gets himself in trouble on the field, but it's not really playing. It's the maturity questions. I think
some of the penalties are in play.
That might have cost him a long-term deal somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he was no longer a full-time starter for the Super Bowl team just last year.
Right. And
they elected to keep Josh Jobe instead of paying him, so yeah, I think there are some questions.
Yeah.
But overall, you're right. You feel really good about this group. Interested to see the development from Mac McWilliams, who, I thought it was like a quiet training camp, but I listened to what Vic Fangio says, and Vic Fangio really seemed to like a Mac McWilliams.
Yeah, he does.
Does not seem to like a Jacorian Bennett.
He does not. I'm kind of surprised Jacorian Bennett's still here. I guess there's no reason to cut him. You want as many guys in camp as possible who, fresh legs and all that. I just can't imagine him making the team.
Yeah. All right. So that's Eagles offense and defense by position. We'll skip safety. You fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's skip safety and let's get the questions. I don't want to shortchange the questions here. Eagle Eye at NBCUni.com. That QR code is on the screen. So if you scan that, you can send us a question that way. First one today is from Joe. Hello, gentlemen. I don't have a question, but rather would like to give a vote of confidence to Dave's stance that if you're on the sideline, you underhand throw the ball back. In college, I was an intern at Penn State for the football team. At one of my first practices, a ball went over to the sideline toward me, and I did my best 2020 Carson Wentz impression throwing the ball back. I tossed it to 6'7" tight end Jesse James, who had to climb the ladder to catch it. He was maybe 15 feet away from me. It was underhand throws back that day on.
Jesse James, huh?
You never. That's a rough one. You don't want to make a player like have to maybe risk injury to catch the football you throw back.
Yeah, you don't want to get Jesse James hurt.
Yeah.
Week of the Ohio State game.
Oh, from Joe, moral of the story: don't get yourself involved. Could not agree more.
And you can. I mean, that's kind of a metaphor for life.
Yeah, mind your business.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane, mind your business.
Exactly.
I like that. Next one is from Jess. Hi, boys. Regarding the $40 million dead cap hit if they trade A.J. Brown before June 1st, why doesn't the entirety of the contract, dead cap, guarantees, etc., fall on the new team that assumes the contract? Why is there any dead cap at all for the Eagles if the new team takes on the contract? Second question, since the dead cap is keeping him here when he wants to leave, can A.J. renegotiate his contract to make it tradable, or the dead cap remain somehow? If so, why? Yeah, so I did my explainer on salary cap maybe a week or so ago, and some people were like, great, that explained a lot, I get it. And other people were like, I am more confused than when you started. Both are fair. I get it. It's tough to explain it. So I'll try it again with this question. Jess, so basically we're not talking about like the money owed to A.J. Brown. We're talking about the cap gymnastics the Eagles play by adding void years. So it has to count against their cap at some point. If you pay a guy $80 million, eventually $80 million has to count against the cap. Doesn't have to be this year or next year, but eventually it has to count. So it's like, even if a player's gone, that's why it still has to count because you've prorated it over these future years.
You can't just ignore it or pretend there's no mechanism to delete it.
Exactly. You have to pay up, not money-wise, but you have to pay up in terms of cap purposes because you can't just game the system and get rid of a player and then act like it never happened. That's why those charges escalate, or not escalate, those charges accelerate onto the current cap year, or if it's after June 1st to the next cap year.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I explained that okay? Yeah. And that's why he can't, no renegotiating would change it because you've already kicked the can. So you got to deal with it at some point. I would say if you're interested in the salary cap stuff and you've heard me explain it and you still don't quite get it, I use Over the Cap, Roob likes Spotrac, but those sites are great, not just for having the information, but it lays it out and it shows you the years. Like for me, I'm a visual learner with stuff like that, and it allows you to see the void years, and it helps understand it better.
Yeah, I agree with that. You see it all lined up with the year and all the amounts, and the numbers make more sense that way. Mm-hmm. So, and they're both free sites. Now, I think there's some stuff on Spotrac you need to pay to get access to, but
that's like the tools you want to start playing with.
Yeah, the basics, you don't need an account or anything. You just go on the site.
Yeah, and I really do think if you're trying to understand some of this stuff, you pop on there, overthecap.com, spotrac.com, take a gander around it. It'll help you to understand it. And honestly, maybe go check out some other teams and how they structure contracts because they are simpler to understand. You can maybe master the basics and then work your way up to what Howie Roseman does.
Howie Ball.
Yeah. Next one is from Dennis. As always, thank you for your off-season pods and articles. You're the best in the business. I'm guessing many have asked similar questions, but I have a two-parter. Number one, after the recent moves at safety, do you think it more likely Howie stands pat from now until training camp to see what the guys have at safety and or edge, or make another trade/signing before then? Two, if you had to choose one impact move on defense to make now, would you do it for safety or edge? Thanks, guys. You make my off-season.
Well, I guess, it would depend what's available and what it's going to cost you. I wouldn't. I mean, I would prioritize safety right now, just because I think you have more at edge. But certainly, if there's an edge who became available that you think could help you, I wouldn't hesitate to go that direction.
I would go edge above safety. I think I'd rather get by at safety than try to get by at edge.
I'm a little scared about what they have at safety.
Are you?
I think it's just a little thin.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're functional at edge at least.
Yeah. Maybe, but to me, like, positional importance matters. And edge is just more important.
It is.
It just is. And with the cornerbacks you have, I'm not saying that it renders safety, like, unimportant. It doesn't. It's still an important position in this defense, but edge rusher to me is such a big need. And they showed you how big of a need it was because they went out during the season last year and traded for Jalen Phillips. Like, they told you
no, I don't
that
disagree.
they didn't think they had enough. And I still don't think they have enough.
But I still think Jalix and Nolan Smith, you feel better about that than Makuba and Epsy.
Yeah, but you also need more than two at edge. And you don't need more than two at safety.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I just don't. I just not in love with. I mean, I think Epps is a okay starter. I think Makuba we've seen is okay at times. I'm just. It's not for me. It's just not enough.
Mm-hmm.
But especially when you had a chance to bring back Reed, and we talked about that earlier. But I certainly wouldn't balk if there's an edge out there that you feel like can help you. I wouldn't balk at it.
If they make a move before training camp, which one do you think is more likely?
Edge.
Okay. I agree there with you.
Yeah.
Next one, we'll finish up with this one from Justin. This is a long one. I'll cut it down. For real, not as a biased local Philly sports writer, give an honest opinion. How would you actually rate Jalen Hurts as a QB1? Average, slightly above average, very good to elite. Full disclosure, I am not a Hurts fan. I feel he is average to maybe above average at best. With the benefit of hindsight, yes, Hurts has had success. However, is that because of Hurts as a player or the coaches masking his average play? There's a bunch of other stuff, but
he's an elite quarterback. I mean, you look at his body of work, the wins, the touchdowns, the rushing, the Super Bowls, the playoff wins. He's an elite quarterback, any way you measure it.
I don't think I would call him an elite quarterback, but that's because I think there are very, 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 very few elite quarterbacks. I think he is a very good quarterback. I reserve elite for, the guys who have won MVPs, who are in that conversation yearly. Look, honestly, I think he's a tick below those guys, but that's okay. And I think it really does matter that Jalen has performed so well in the playoffs. Like, it does. It just matters. Like, there are other quarterbacks who haven't, and Jalen's best games have come on the biggest stages. To me, like, that matters. That's why I think he's a very good quarterback.
So who are the elites to you? You talking about like Stafford, Goff? Who we?
Goff, no.
Mahomes.
Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes are elite to me. I would probably put Joe Burrow.
I mean, Josh Allen has not won a Super Bowl.
He has not, yes. But he's been, like, by far and away the best regular season quarterback. I think he has all the physical tools.
Great player.
He's a great player. And like, so I would have probably those three in that top bucket. The Lamar conversation is tricky because Lamar is an excellent regular season quarterback. And then the playoffs come and it has not been pretty. So I don't know if I'd put Lamar in that category, but that's kind of where I'm at. It's for me, that's reserved for, the very best in the league. I think Jalen's a tick below that.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
It's fair. I call him elite.
Okay. You'd put him in that category?
I would.
Mahomes and Allen, and who else would you have in that elite bucket? Put Lamar in there?
Yeah, I guess. Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
A small group.
Okay. Would you put Goff in there? You mentioned Goff.
I wouldn't put him in the elite.
Okay.
I think he's very good.
Fair. Yeah, so I don't know. Hopefully we don't have to keep doing that. Because for whatever reason, Jalen on these lists, like, makes people lose their minds.
Yeah.
think he's a very good quarterback. Curious to see what it looks like in this offense.
Yeah. We'll know soon enough.
Yeah. All right. If you have a question for us, eagleeye@nbcuni.com. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, you know what to do. Please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click that like button, subscribe there as well. Rube, anything else on your mind?
I just wanted to give a shout out to the St. Joe's basketball program. I was watching their NIT game against Cal the other night, and I guess it was Sunday night. They were down 19 with 13 and a half minutes to go, and they came back and won by a point. Out at Cal, it was one of the greatest comebacks I've seen. And, Steve Donahue's done such a good job there. He just got the job like just before the season started because their coach quit and went to become an assistant with the Knicks, I think. And so he had no time to even prepare for the season. And look, NIT is the NIT. It is what it is. But it was a fun game to watch, and he's got them playing pretty well.
All right. There you have it. Reuben Frank.
My NIT soliloquy.
For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.